Shares of Cargojet are trading higher. The air shipping company reported adjusted profit that beat expectations in the latest quarter. However, Cargojet did see sales drop 15% due to a shift in consumer spending towards travel and leisure. The company does say that it expects that trend to ease towards the end of the year, and it is focused on cost management in the meantime. Shares of Rogers Sugar are edging higher. The company plans to spend $200 million to grow production capacity at a plant in Montreal. Rogers says the move is to help meet increased demand in Eastern Canada. The company will also expand its logistics and storage capacity in Toronto. Check out shares of U.S. Steel trading higher after the company received a takeover offer from rival Cleveland-Cliffs valued at more than $7 billion. Cliffs says that it submitted the proposal privately late last month and received a rejection letter yesterday, with U.S. Steel calling the offer unreasonable. U.S. Steel has now begun a formal process to assess its alternatives. We're off to a tough start on the Canadian markets right now. We've got weakness in the materials, fertilizers, nutrient is a pain point right now, but energy is also giving back some of the gains that we had seen. It's largely Enbridge, though, the company going ex-dividend today, so that's kind of having an outsized impact on our markets. Meanwhile, as we take a look at the U.S. markets, kind of a continuation of a trend that we have been seeing for much of the year. Tech is outperforming. It's in pole position, where energy, materials, financials, they are under pressure right now. Well, Coinbase has been in a dust-up with the U.S. regulators, and the landscape is looking unclear there. The crypto exchange operator announcing today that it's expanding offerings in Canada. Coinbase calls Canada its next go deep market and says that Canada could be a leader in the global crypto economy. We've got the Coinbase team on the desk. Nana Murugesan is the VP of International Business Development at Coinbase, and Lucas Matheson is the country director. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with me. Before we get into the regulatory backdrop, and I'm not sure who this is going to be best for, but why don't we walk through what does the expansion look like? Because you've been here, you've been hiring. So what does this new offering give to Coinbase users?
So thanks for having us, Amber. At Coinbase, we are focused on increasing economic freedom in the world, and really what this is about is bringing the most trusted name in crypto to billions of people around the world. And what we've been doing is we've been using a two-pronged strategy that we call Go Deep, which is very much a one-to-one localized strategy for highly regulated markets like Canada, and we'll talk about that. And also Go Broad, which is more of a one-to-many strategy where we can take a global product and roll it to as many markets as possible. So with that, in Canada, what we've been doing as of earlier this year is we built up a local team with almost 200 employees over here. We hired Lucas, our country director. We made investments in almost 10 Canadian startups through our venture investments. And most importantly, we've been working with the Canadian regulatory framework, which has been fast evolving. We signed a pre-registration undertaking with the Canadian regulators. We've been working with the Ontario Security Commission and other local regulators, so that's been really exciting for us. And today, super exciting day for us, we are launching the most requested feature, which is the ability to deposit and withdraw funds through Interac, which is the most common
payment method. So now you have a fiat, like a fiat on-ramp.
Fiat on-ramp, that's right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this did exist for a time within Canada, and then it didn't exist. So how did it come to be that now users can finally use Interac? Is it having conversations with people at Interac, with financial institutions?
Yeah, maybe I'll just tee this up, and Lucas, you could take this. We have a partnership with People's Trust, which is a banking partner, and that's really helped enable this. We're also bringing in other requested features like ETF support through a partnership that we just did over the weekend with Trustly. So these are all things that we're listening to the Canadian customers. What makes it easier? We want to make crypto as accessible as possible, and so these are things that make it really accessible. The other thing that we are launching today is Coinbase One. And so with Coinbase One, zero trading fees, you have 24/7 support, you have boosted staking rewards, so a lot of things that we hope to bring to Canada.
Yeah, I think as Nana said, the thing we're trying to do in Canada is make crypto as accessible as possible, help as many Canadians get access to the crypto economy, and Interact just makes that easy for anyone with a bank account to deposit funds at a Coinbase. So it's free, it's almost instant. And as Nana said, we've seen we've seen a lot of strong adoption on the platform already. Over the last few weeks, as we've been rolling this out, we've seen over 50% of all the deposits coming into Coinbase using Interact. So we're really excited to bring it to Canadians. As Nana mentioned, it's the #1 most requested feature for us in Coinbase. It's just to make it as easy as possible for Canadians to deposit funds into the platform.
And as I mentioned, though, the elephant in the room is, of course, the regulatory process in the United States. You're in a lawsuit with the SEC, whereas here, and you mentioned it, Nana, you're working with the regulator in this undertaking, as you called it, where others have decided not to do that, right? You know, Binance left and decided not to do that. What was the decision to decide to work with the regulators and expand in Canada? What could Canada mean to Coinbase? And we're very small. What could we mean?
You know, at the end of the day, we look for regulatory clarity. And we see two types of regulation. One is regulation by enforcement in certain markets, but in Canada, we see regulation by engagement, and we love that. And maybe, Lucas, you could talk a bit about how we are engaging with regulators. And one of the things that we're really excited about is the end goal of regulators and of Coinbase is the same. And how we get there, there's a lot of great things happening.
Yeah, I'd say in Canada, we've been fortunate to have regulators that are committed to regulating our industry. We've worked really collaboratively with regulators since I joined in January, and our industry has come together over the last couple of months to form industry associations that can help align perspectives for the industry and help bring regulatory clarity to Canada, not just to serve as a global standard, but also to position Canada as a global leader in the crypto economy. And look, our government needs a plan to grow our economy, and the digital asset ecosystem needs to be a part of that. And so we're really keen to continue working with government, work with policymakers to help our Canadian government understand how can we build a thriving ecosystem here in Canada.
Do the regulators get the concept that crypto does not fit neatly into what is a security versus a commodity? In some ways it's easy, right? Because our regulator, it's all under one house, commodities and securities, and they've decided they're going to regulate that. Where in the U.S., it's two different factions, which is why I assume you're kind of in this issue. But how would you characterize, regulators' flexibility around how crypto is different? Simple things like how can you provide disclosures for a decentralized crypto?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for us in Canada, we're focused on outcomes. As Nana mentioned, our outcomes are very aligned with our regulators. We want the same things that they want. We want real people on our platform acting in good faith. We want them to have the right information to make financial decisions on the platform. And so we're working with regulators to build that framework. And there's still lots of work to do with regulators as we think about regulating crypto. But we're excited to have a relationship with regulators where they're keen to work with us. And look, Coinbase has been working with regulators all over the world. We have a unique perspective on how a lot of countries are thinking about regulation. And so one of the things we've been working on is helping our regulators understand how other governments are thinking about regulation and how we can best regulate crypto for Canadians.
So how does Canada rank in terms of regulatory openness, collaboration? Is it one of the most favorable? Is it up there as the most favorable? How do you think about that?
I think we're one of the most further along countries in the world in terms of establishing clear regulatory framework that's going to allow our industry to thrive. And when we think about trust, we think about, one of the most important things for us in our industry is building trust with Canadians, building trust with our institutions, and building trust with government. And regulatory clarity is really important to do that.
And could this be a blueprint? Like, are you, in all your travels, are you talking about what the Canadians are doing?
Absolutely. The consultations, the white papers that we are engaged in, there's a very sophisticated approach in Canada. The other cool thing is, at the end of the day, the regulators are focused on consumer protection. They're listening to consumers. They're seeing what Canadians want. And right now, about 15% or so of Canadians interested in crypto, that's expected to double. The Ontario Security Commission did a survey, and they think that 30% of people in Canada would want to own some type of digital cryptocurrency in the next year or so. So a huge growth expected in Canada. There's a lot of interest. And again, there's a lot of interest from regulators on that.
I keep coming back to the fact that we are a relatively small market. And so I'm trying to understand how Coinbase kind of sees that fitting in. One of the common complaints, and you know this, about our tech sector is we innovate and then we lose it to other markets, mainly the United States. So that hasn't happened with Shopify. And so does Canada have this opportunity? I mean, Ethereum was co-founded by Canadians. Does Canada have this opportunity to have an outsized effect on crypto compared to, our relative size?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Canada is very well positioned to be a leader in the crypto economy. And one of the reasons is that we have a really strong developer ecosystem here in Canada. We have over 500 companies building in Web3. We have a really highly educated country that's technically savvy, and we're keen to help sort of invest, as Nana said, where Coinbase Ventures has been investing in the startup ecosystem here in Canada, and we're excited to continue doing that. But there's a lot of innovation coming out of Canada that can support this industry and help our country build a strong economic plan that includes Web3 and digital assets.
And to add to it, right, we have three distinct customer segments. One is retail consumers, and I think your question on how many people, I think, but at the end of the day, we think about that customer segment. Then we have institutional clients.
Yeah.
Canada's huge on that, right? Whether it's the pension funds.
But they won't touch it right now.
Not necessarily. We had a partnership with BlackRock last year, which really opened that up. We have a strategic relationship with 3iQ over here.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of interest. So that's institutional clients. We're going to be meeting with them over the next few days. There's a lot of great engagement there. The third one is the developer ecosystem. At Futures, we are going to be meeting up with a lot of developers. We've already made close to 10 investments in Canada, companies like Dapper Labs. So that's another area where through Base, which is our new layer 2 that we recently announced, there's just so many good things happening on the developer space.
Is there a lot of pressure to make it profitable, whatever you're doing? I mean, with the tech landscape right now, we've seen so many companies come in Canada, even outside of crypto. They try and expand. If they can't do it profitably, they leave. What's your mandate?
Yeah, our mission at Coinbase is to increase economic freedom and update the financial system, and that includes Canada. And I think one of the, to your question earlier about what Canada can do in the developer ecosystem, is that this is a global economy, a global opportunity that we're working for. And so there's a lot of opportunities for Canadian companies here to grow and build a sustainable business that can help billions of people access the digital economy. And we're excited to help Canadian companies do that.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Amber.
Great to be here. Thank you.
That's Nana Murugesan as well as Lucas Matheson joining me from Coinbase. Tomorrow, we'll have an interview with Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. We'll be on Morning Markets. You can catch that interview tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, hot picks in a part of the energy sector that has not only outperformed other energy stocks, but also the price of crude itself. Find out what that is when we return.